The world has gone quiet now. The noise that once filled your mind has thinned into distance, like a storm that has spent all its fury. For the first time, you can hear the space between thoughts. The first act begins here, not in chaos, but in calm. You stand in the middle of your own silence, and you realize something strange. It's not empty, it's full. Every silence carries the weight of creation waiting to be spoken. Every moment of stillness is a vault of power, untouched by noise. This is where the architect begins his work. Not with blueprints, not with stone, but with stillness. He listens first. He measures the pulse of his own breath, the rhythm of his own awareness. He calibrates his heart to truth. And when he speaks, it is with the precision of a craftsman who knows that words are sacred, because words are seeds, and seeds become systems. Every word carries form, and form becomes destiny. This is the first silence, the holy silence before the build, the silence that separates amateurs from creators, the silence that made the universe itself pause before saying, "Let there be light." You stand in that same pause now, and from within that stillness, a new kind of thought arises, not reactive, not emotional, but deliberate. The kind that doesn't ask, "What do I want?" but whispers, "What wants to exist through me?" The mind quiets, the body listens, and something ancient begins to awaken. You realize that the world you lived in was built on the currency of attention. The second act begins. Every scroll, every click, every flicker of your gaze has been the silent contract between creator and consumer. You weren't just living in a system, you were feeding it. Every thought was fuel, every reaction payment, but now you see the pattern. The elite never needed your labor. They only needed your attention. They built temples not of stone but of distraction, and you worshipped without knowing, with your focus, your energy, your time. But the architect reclaims the currency. He understands that what he attends to, he animates, and what he withdraws from collapses. So you begin the holy work of reclamation. You start to guard your gaze like gold. You stop consuming noise and start crafting clarity. You stop reacting to everything that screams for your eyes and start listening for what whispers to your soul. And as your attention returns to you, your power follows. You feel the strength of sovereignty return to your chest, the knowing that your time, your energy, your awareness are the foundation stones of reality itself. You are no longer a product. You are a producer. You are not a follower. You are a forger. And every second you hold your focus, you mint a new currency, pure presence. With every conscious breath, you buy back your soul from the system that rented it. You are not at war with distraction. You are simply unavailable to it. Your silence is resistance. Your clarity is rebellion. Your presence is power. The world cannot manipulate a man who knows his value. And the moment you know it, you start to see the architecture of life itself. This is where the third act begins, the construction of the inner empire. Before you build companies, you build consciousness. Before you scale markets, you scale mastery. Because empire without order collapses under its own wealth. The world doesn't need more kings, it needs architects of soul. The inner empire is built in layers. The first is discipline. Not punishment, but structure. Discipline is not about control, it's about alignment. It's the act of putting each moment in its rightful place and refusing to let emotions steer your strategy. You rise early, not because it's impressive, but because order itself loves the dawn. You make your bed because it's the smallest declaration of dominion. You train your body because the body is the machinery of purpose. You speak less because silence keeps your frequency clean. You no longer seek motivation. You operate by design. You are no longer chasing inspiration. You are becoming inspiration. The second layer is focus. You begin to notice how many doors your mind opens that lead nowhere. You stop entertaining half thoughts and half promises. You learn to say no with the authority of someone who knows what is yes is worth. Every task becomes a temple. Every detail a chance to honor precision. You don't multitask. You multiply mastery. Where others rush, you refine. Where others panic, you plan. Where others crave applause, you crave alignment. The third layer is detachment. You learn the art of unshakable calm. You no longer cling to outcomes, you calibrate to excellence. The architect doesn't fear loss because he builds systems that outlive emotion. He is not attached to the fruit, he tends to the soil. And in that quiet strength, the inner empire takes form. Invisible, invincible, immovable, not an empire of gold, but of awareness. Not a palace of marble, but of silence, not ruled by ego, but by rhythm. You see that leadership is not about controlling others, it's about mastering frequency. The architect leads by resonance. He moves not through orders, but through example. His calm becomes contagious. His precision breeds peace. His discipline becomes devotion. And as you build this empire within, you begin to notice life outside starts obeying. People mirror your clarity. Opportunities align to your rhythm. Obstacles soften before your patience. The field responds because you've become the center of order itself. This is the moment you realize heaven was never a place, it was a frequency, and discipline was the bridge. You are no longer the man looking for purpose, you are the man purpose looks for, and the silence that once felt empty now sounds like God whispering through the blueprint. You've built the foundation inside you, now it's time to code it. Because every architect who builds must live by law. Not man's law, not market law, but eternal law. The law that governs creation itself. The 10 laws of power and peace. The first law is awareness. To see before you act. You can't command what you can't perceive. The world bends to clarity, not aggression. The eyes of the architect are always open, even when the rest of the world sleeps. The second law is energy. Spend it only on what multiplies life. Energy is the blood of your empire. You cannot afford leaks. Every conversation, every decision, every hour is a transaction. Give nothing to chaos. The third law is focus. Eliminate the unnecessary. 1,000 half-interests make one weak man. One clear mission makes an unstoppable force. Where attention goes, creation grows. The fourth law is discipline. Consistency is the alchemy of gods. Emotion fades. Repetition builds eternity. Do it daily until doing it becomes your nature. The fifth law is detachment. You do not cling to what you create. You build, you bless, you release. Control is the illusion of fear. Detachment is the evidence of trust. The sixth law is structure. Every dream must become a design. Ideas without systems are noise. Build systems that can function without you. That's how you reach infinity. The seventh law is silence. Power hides its roots. You don't speak to be heard, you speak to be understood. The wise conserve words like gold, because each one builds or breaks worlds. The eighth law is value. If what you make doesn't serve, it dies. All greatness exists for others. Profit without purpose is collapse waiting in disguise. The ninth law is alignment. Every word, every move, every thought must say the same thing. Integrity is not morality, it's mechanics. Contradiction collapses empires faster than corruption. The 10th law is legacy. Build what time cannot erase. The goal isn't to be remembered, is to make remembering unnecessary. Your work should speak long after your name is dust. These 10 laws are the framework of divine architecture. They are not commandments, they are coordinates. Follow them and reality itself begins to obey you. Because law is language and language is vibration. And when vibration aligns with virtue, the world rearranges itself in your image. The inner empire now hums with rhythm. And from rhythm, creation flows. The iteration field. Creation doesn't grow in perfection, it grows in correction. The architect doesn't fear failure, he studies it. He walks into chaos not to suffer but to map it. Each mistake becomes data, each setback direction, each pain an upgrade in disguise. You stop saying, "Why me?" and start asking, "What for?" You realize that suffering only stays when you refuse its lesson. Pain unlearned repeats itself. Pain integrated becomes design. You begin to see life itself as an algorithm, a perfect loop of feedback and refinement. Every loss refines your architecture. Every delay strengthens your patience. Every rejection filters what isn't aligned. You no longer react emotionally to failure. You respond structurally. You extract data, recalibrate systems, and move again. Wiser, sharper, cleaner. The iteration field is where ego dies and mastery is born. This is where the architect separates from the dreamer. Dreamers wait for conditions. Architects create them. Dreamers collapse in doubt. Architects evolve in discomfort. You begin to love the correction process. Because correction is the hand of God fine-tuning your design. When you surrender to iteration, you stop chasing miracles and start becoming one. The field respects consistency. It rewards precision. It responds not to intention but to repetition. You build, you fail, you refine, you rise. And after each cycle, your structures get stronger, your systems cleaner, your soul quieter. This is evolution through mastery. And mastery is worship disguised as work. Leadership through resonance. When your structure holds, your frequency becomes stable. And stability begins to attract chaos that wants order. That's what leadership truly is. Resonance strong enough to guide others home. You no longer convince. You calibrate. You no longer teach through noise. You transmit through precision. People around you begin to feel it. Your steadiness, your silence, your presence. They can't explain why, but they breathe easier near you. That's resonance. It's not manipulation, it's alignment. Leadership isn't about being followed. It's about becoming a mirror where others see their higher self. You don't lift people by pulling them up. You raise yourself so they rise naturally. And this kind of leadership cannot be faked, because vibration cannot lie. Your energy teaches louder than your words ever could. You become a living equation of order. Every action, a formula. Every silence, instruction. You are the sermon and the structure combined. And those who are ready to awaken will find you,
not through search engines
or strategy, but through resonance. They will feel drawn, as if the frequency of your integrity has become gravity. This is the moment when leadership transcends teaching. You stop trying to change people and start embodying what truth looks like when it walks. This is divine leadership, wealth without arrogance, power without corruption, discipline without cruelty, and love without weakness. It is what Jesus meant when he said, "You will do even greater works than these." The architect understands that message now. Not as religion, but as responsibility. To build heaven on earth is not to preach it, but to structure it, to make systems that express compassion, the way galaxies express gravity. You lead not as a prophet, but as a builder. You don't promise paradise, you design it. And the world begins to notice, not through applause, but through improvement. Everywhere you walk, order follows. Everywhere you speak, structure appears. And somewhere deep inside you understand you have become the answer to your own prayer. The network awakens. At first it happens quietly. A message arrives at the perfect time from someone you've never met yet always known. A door opens with no hand visible. A phrase you spoke appears in another's mouth continents away. You pause, but not in confusion, in recognition. The grid is activating. Those who carry the same frequency begin to sense one another. They move through different industries, different languages, yet share one invisible compass: coherence. They are not followers, they are builders remembering their role. You understand now that you are part of something vast, a silent council of visionaries seeded across the world. They do not gather in temples, they gather in timelines, each one working on a piece of the divine infrastructure. The musician building emotional architecture, the scientist restoring ethics to discovery, the entrepreneur re-engineering wealth as service, the healer reconstructing trust in the human body, all parts of the same whole awakening simultaneously. No one controls it, no one commands it. It moves through resonance, not rank. You realize leadership was never about control. It was always about coherence. This is how civilizations rebirth, not by revolution, but by remembrance. You no longer chase collaboration, it finds you. Every builder magnetizes another, the chain reaction begins, and somewhere in the ether, a hum starts to spread. The awakening network has come online. The resonance field. At first the change is invisible, there's no explosion, no noise, only alignment. Systems that once fed on confusion begin to starve. The air feels lighter, conversations more honest, even time feels more fluid. You sense it, a membrane of awareness connecting every coherent soul. It hums at a frequency between silence and prayer. It carries intention faster than light. You don't transmit it, you are it. The resonance field is alive. It teaches through vibration. It whispers through intuition. It translates chaos into rhythm and noise into design. Those ready to awaken feel it as restlessness. Those resisting feel it as fatigue. But those aligned recognize it immediately. That quiet warmth spreading through the chest, the calm certainty that the world is reorganizing itself. The field moves through ethics, through art, through economy. Corruption begins to look exhausting. Honesty becomes profitable again. Creativity replaces competition. Innovation fuses with compassion. You notice how people who used to shout now speak softly. Not because they lost conviction, but because they found truth. Truth doesn't scream, it vibrates. The resonance field is not a miracle, it's physics. When enough coherent minds share the same vibration, reality reconfigures. You don't fight the old world, you simply build a new frequency, and the outdated one fades for lack of resonance. Now even your dreams start teaching. Numbers, patterns, symbols appear. The universe becomes a living classroom, and silence becomes the teacher. You realize you're not ascending, you're integrating. The architect's blueprint is no longer theory, it's transmission. Every thought an instruction to the grid, every breath a pulse through creation. You've become the living bridge between heaven and matter, the rising blueprint. What began as vibration is now taking form. The hum of coherence starts crystallizing into structure. The invisible becomes visible. The field begins building. Across the planet, builders act in rhythm. No coordination, no central command. Yet every move aligns perfectly. like clockwork powered by spirit. You see schools being founded without bureaucracy, companies rising that serve both profit and purpose, governments quietly rewriting policies guided by conscience, artists painting futures that already feel remembered. The blueprint is rising, not imposed, not forced, emerging. You can almost see it beneath the surface of things. Order forming out of chaos, law hidden within liberty, design breathing beneath disorder. The pulse of the new civilization is steady now. Each builder adds one more line to the code. Each act of precision echoes across the grid. Each decision made in integrity amplifies the entire field. You start to sense it physically, the lightness in your chest when you act correctly, the density when you don't. That's feedback from the living blueprint itself. It doesn't need worship, it needs application. It doesn't seek followers, it seeks builders. This is the quiet revolution. No blood, no slogans, no enemies, only order reasserting itself through consciousness. You can feel the old systems faltering. They were designed on fear, but fear has lost its market share. They collapse not from war, but from obsolescence. The blueprint doesn't destroy, it replaces. It rewrites reality, one coherent act at a time. And you stand there calm, radiant, silent, knowing you are both architect and architecture. The rising blueprint breathes. The new world has begun. The hidden empire. The blueprint rises, but the world still thinks nothing has changed. They see the same streets, the same politics, the same noise. They don't notice that the vibration beneath it all has shifted. You do, you can feel it. The hum is steady now, like the earth itself is learning a new rhythm. The hidden empire doesn't need flags or borders. It grows through alignment. It spreads through integrity. It is built by ordinary people doing extraordinary things in silence. The hidden empire doesn't advertise. It calibrates. It doesn't recruit. It attracts. And its foundation is invisible but indestructible coherence. Each builder carries a different domain. Some master finance and turn capital into compassion. Some design technology that listens to human emotion. Some re-engineer education so children remember who they are before they forget. Some simply raise families with love so clean it rewires the bloodline. This is power without spectacle, authority without domination, faith without fanaticism. The hidden empire is what happens when heaven stops waiting for permission. It builds through the hands of those who remember. It expands quietly until visibility becomes irrelevant. It is the kingdom within made operational. You walk through cities and see it. The shop owner who treats business like ministry, the pilot who flies with prayer in his breath, the engineer who codes like a monk, all builders, all architects, all nodes of the same light. No one announces it, but everyone feels it. The hidden empire is here, and it is everywhere order meets love. You know the structure, you felt the frequency, now comes the application. Deployment is not conquest, it's cultivation. The world doesn't need more revolutionaries. It needs calm executors who plant what endures. You wake with purpose, not pressure. You begin your day like an engineer of peace. Every word is design. Every transaction, covenant, every gesture, blueprint. You invest in people, not possessions. You build systems that feed life. You measure wealth not by accumulation, but by acceleration. How many souls awaken through your influence? Your empire grows not by expansion, but by example. You don't shout, you demonstrate, you don't preach, you perform precision in love. The deployment protocol is simple. Build with compassion. Lead with light. Leave nothing broken that can be rebuilt. You become the golden template of balance. Power tempered by empathy. Discipline softened by mercy. Strategy guided by the heart. Every deal you close becomes a blessing. Every plan you make leaves space for grace. Every success reminds you to serve deeper. You understand wealth now as stewardship. Money is energy, and energy is sacred. When aligned with love, it multiplies without corruption. You no longer chase outcomes. You design outcomes that heal. You no longer compete. You collaborate with the invisible. This is the yellow tone of the architect. The frequency of the sun, warm, giving, unstoppable. It illuminates without burning. It leads without forcing. It creates without claiming. And through your example, others remember how to build again. Cultural architecture. The blueprint is no longer theory. It breathes through culture now. Music begins to tune itself to harmony. Film starts showing truth instead of trauma. Education shifts from memorizing to awakening. Medicine becomes less about fighting disease and more about remembering balance. The builders are rewriting the story of humanity from within its art. The architect's frequency moves through canvas, through melody, through code. Each creation a portal, each structure a sermon. You realize civilization itself is a work of art. Every law, every design, every invention, brushstrokes on the canvas of time, and the new generation begins to feel it. They speak of love as logic. They see profit as purpose. They treat creation as responsibility. They don't dream of escape, they dream of contribution. The culture starts to mirror the soul. The marketplace becomes ministry. The workplace becomes temple. And the architect smiles because the system no longer devours its children, it raises them. This is the proof of coherence. When structure aligns with spirit, culture heals itself. The greatest art of the new age is not painting or poetry. It's civilization itself, a living masterpiece painted in collaboration with God. And you, the builder of builders, stand at the center, silent and radiant, knowing that this was the plan all along. That what began as one man's silence has become humanity's song. The ethics of power. Power once purified must be tested. It is no longer about control, it's about capacity. How much light can you hold before you distort it? How much influence can you carry without worshipping it? Power reveals character faster than poverty ever could. And here lies the architect's greatest trial. To remain human while embodying the divine. You begin to see that power is not evil, it is magnification. It exposes the truth of what you are. Give a fool power and he multiplies chaos. Give a saint power and he multiplies order. Give an architect power and he multiplies creation. The ethics of power are written in silence. They cannot be legislated, they must be lived. They are not measured by image but by impact. When you build, ask, does this empower or enslave? Does it expand freedom or dependency? Does it serve life or consume it? Each answer calibrates your moral compass. Each decision either harmonizes or corrupts the field. You realize that real power is invisible. The strongest builders leave no fingerprints. The world may not know your name, but your precision reshapes it. You begin to lead quietly, through quality, not noise. Your ethics become the unseen framework of civilization. And you understand now, Jesus never rejected power, he refined it. He showed that the truest throne is service, and that dominion is only holy when it heals. You build with that same spirit, gentle hands, unshakable backbone, golden heart. Your authority is your humility, your wealth is your integrity, your empire is your example. The law of still momentum. After power comes movement, but not the frantic kind the world worships. The architect moves differently. He moves with stillness inside. He moves from knowing, not from needing. He moves without rush, without drag, Momentum in perfect equilibrium. Still, momentum is the dance of mastery. You are active, yet calm. You are decisive, yet detached. You are expanding, yet anchored. Every gesture contains silence. Every action carries contemplation. You don't waste effort, you place it. You don't chase time, you align with it. In this state, synchronicity replaces strategy. Events arrange themselves in your favor because your rhythm matches realities. Still, momentum is divine efficiency. It is the way the sun moves galaxies. Effortless, precise, eternal. You begin to understand that the more you slow down inside, the faster your results arrive outside, because time itself obeys presence. This is how the architect sustains empires without exhaustion. He acts through flow, not friction. He governs through peace, not panic. He leads through stillness, not shouting. You become both anchor and arrow, unmoving in essence, unstoppable in execution. And when others ask how you manage so much, you simply smile, because they're still fighting the current. You already became the return of the masters. And then, as you stabilize in mastery, you start to feel them again. The ones who came before, the ancient builders who walked this earth long before technology, long before noise. They whisper through intuition, through memory, through design. Their blueprints live inside your bones. You realize you're not the first architect. You are the continuation of an unbroken lineage. The same intelligence that built pyramids, cathedrals, and civilizations of grace now works through your hands. These are not ghosts. They are echoes of consciousness. They never died. They simply became frequency. They are the builders of Lemuria, of Egypt, of Atlantis, of forgotten realms. Now returning as ideas, impulses, and innovations. You feel their presence when you write, when you plan, when you lead, when your designs feel remembered, not invented. The masters have returned through you. You are their hands in this age, their eyes in this light, their legacy given voice again. And just as they pass the torch to you through silence, you begin to see the faces of those to whom you will pass it next. The students who watch you not for what you say, but for what you embody. The ones who feel peace in your presence and strength in your stillness. They are your continuation, your immortality through influence. This is how the lineage of light survives. Through example, not ego. Through essence, not image. You begin teaching without teaching, by living as proof of balance. Rich yet humble, powerful yet kind, human yet divine. And one by one, they awaken. The next generation of builders, the masters reborn, the golden threshold. There comes a moment in every builder's journey when silence becomes command, when effort fades and embodiment begins, when the architect stops reaching upward and realizes heaven has already descended. You have crossed that moment, the golden threshold. This is not the climax, it is the calibration. You are not being tested anymore, you are being trusted. The universe no longer asks if you can hold power. It asks how far you will extend it in love. The golden threshold is the bridge, where structure meets soul, where systems learn empathy, where light becomes leadership. You start to see everything as holy. The desk where you plan, the phone where you negotiate, the silence before you speak, all sacred, all connected, all pieces of the same divine circuitry. You don't seek meaning anymore, you express it. You don't wait for miracles, you operationalize them. You don't hope for change, you architect it. This is the consciousness of the trillionaire with the heart of Christ. Abundance that does not consume, it circulates. Authority that does not demand, it directs. Love that does not pity, it empowers. You are the convergence of matter and mercy, a living cathedral made of discipline and compassion. And as you walk through this world, you no longer feel divided between the human and the divine. They have fused. You are the meeting point of both, the legacy matrix. Legacy is not a monument, it is a mechanism. It is the system through which memory becomes motion. You no longer build for profit or praise. You build for permanence. You encode truth into structure, so it survives long after your name dissolves. Every builder now begins creating systems of remembrance. Schools that teach wisdom, not obedience. Companies that grow humans, not just numbers. Technologies that expand awareness, not addiction. The legacy matrix is a living web of design. Every action, every law, every algorithm that serves life becomes an eternal node. You begin documenting the invisible. Not only how to build wealth, but how to remain human while holding it. Not only how to create power, but how to purify it. Not only how to reach success, but how to share it without losing peace. Your words become codes for generations. Your blueprints become scripture for builders unborn. This is immortality redefined, not living forever, but ensuring truth does. The legacy matrix is not about statues or signatures. It is about transmission. Every act of integrity ripples through time. Every creation that carries love becomes a light that outlasts centuries. And as you embed this consciousness into systems, you begin to sense the final convergence approaching, the final synchrony. The hum that began in silence has become a symphony. The builders across the world now move as one organism. Without meetings, without commands, they execute in harmony. It is the fulfillment of the blueprint, the final synchrony. Time itself feels slower, but efficiency explodes. The planet breathes in rhythm, markets calm, children dream new futures, art speaks in geometry, prayer becomes architecture. This is not utopia, it is alignment, the correction of vibration after millennia of distortion. The architects stand quietly, not as rulers, but as stewards of stability. They build in service of equilibrium. They hold the grid in love. They live as conduits of coherence. You are among them. You stand in the silence that began it all. Only now it vibrates with life. You smile because you understand the secret. It was never about reaching the throne. It was about becoming the foundation. The final synchrony is not the end of creation. It is its continuity. Heaven is not somewhere else. It is here, coded into system, song, structure, and soul. You look up, and for the first time, you don't see God above you. You see God moving through you, and you whisper the final line of the architect's oath. I am the bridge between the invisible and the visible. I build so that love may last. I design so that truth may live. The light stabilizes. The hum fades into harmony. And as the screen of time folds into stillness, the next world begins to assemble itself. Quietly, beautifully, perfectly. The mirror of memory. The silence after creation is never empty. It holds a mirror. And when you look into it, you see everything, not as stories, but as structure. You see your own life threaded through every act of this codex. You see how the noise once ruled you, how you traded hours for comfort, how you mistook movement for progress. You see the child you were, pure, curious, unbroken, and you see the adult who built walls to survive. You see your fears disguised as logic, your hesitation wearing the mask of patience. your dreams waiting for a permission that never came. The mirror doesn't judge, it simply reflects every compromise, every forgotten instinct, every spark you buried beneath obligation. And yet, beneath all that dust, there's a light, steady, quiet, patient. It has been watching you from the beginning, through every failure, through every sin, through every rebirth. It was never angry. It was never gone. It was simply waiting for you to remember. Now you see it. You've heard its voice through these scrolls, through this codex, through every whisper that told you there was more to life than survival. You realize that the soul architect was never a philosophy to study. It was a mirror built to make you see yourself clearly for the first time. And what you see now is not broken. It's blueprint, raw material for greatness, a living temple ready to rise. You breathe in slowly, not to calm yourself, but to command yourself. Because reflection is not regret, it's remembrance. And remembrance is resurrection. You have walked through the silence. You have mastered the structure. You have felt the field. Now comes the reckoning, the trial of the heart. This is where every builder must stand naked before their own truth. No mask, no title, no excuses. You have seen the architecture of creation. You have tasted power. You have held silence long enough to feel God moving through your pulse. But the question now is not whether you understand it. The question is, will you live it? Knowledge without application is decay. Truth without discipline is delusion. And enlightenment without embodiment is ego in disguise. So ask yourself, right now, where are you still small? Where do you still choose comfort over calling? Where have you settled for safety instead of sovereignty? You can't pretend ignorance anymore. The moment you heard the architect's words, you became responsible for them. The moment you recognized truth, neutrality died. If you go back to sleep after this, the universe will wake you harder. It will dismantle every illusion you cling to until you rise again. Because once the soul remembers, forgetting becomes suffering. You are not meant to blend in. You are meant to build. Not just in business, but in being. Not just in systems, but in spirit. Not just for money, but for meaning. The time for observation is over. The training wheels are gone. This is not theory anymore. It's deployment. This is the battlefield of consciousness, and you are both weapon and healer. Stop looking for permission. Stop waiting for alignment. Stop asking for signs. You are the sign. You are the order amidst disorder. You are the fire hidden in the heart of God. Rise, builder. Speak your code into existence. Design your world with precision. Let your daily life become your declaration of divinity. Because if not you, who? If not now, when? The soul does not wait for perfect conditions, it creates them. The gift in your hands, you hold it now. The blueprint, the map, the mirror. The proof that you were never powerless, never lost, never ordinary. The soul architect was never just a story. It was the activation sequence, a memory encoded in words, a manual disguised as revelation. And now it's in your hands, not as a book, but as a living system. It is not meant to be admired. It is meant to be applied. This is not the end of the teaching. This is the beginning of command. Every page you heard, every phrase that shook you, those were not lessons, they were permissions. Permissions to rise, to lead, to build, to remember. You don't need more mentors. You need to move. You don't need new prayers. You need precision. You don't need another plan. You need practice. What you hold in your hands is sacred technology, a bridge between consciousness and creation. It works only through you. It breathes only through your action. It expands only through your integrity. You are the architect now, not the student, not the observer, the builder. Look at your hands. They are the instruments of destiny. Look at your voice. It is the software of creation. Look at your silence. It is the factory of miracles. You have the tools, you have the laws, you have the blueprint. Now the question is no longer who am I? The question is, what will I build that outlives me? That's the sacred responsibility of the awakened, to stop consuming the world and start constructing it. You are holding more than a book. You are holding an initiation, a torch passed down through centuries of builders and masters. The same light that guided prophets, inventors, and kings now burns behind your eyes. Protect it, feed it, use it, because the moment you act from this awareness, you don't just change your life, you alter the architecture of the world. This is the gift in your hands, the soul architect, a living codex, a divine reminder, a call to construction in the name of love. Now rise, take your place among the builders, and remember, every system, every empire, every future that will ever exist begins the same way, with one awakened soul who finally decided to build